And I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but I'll try to tone it down a little bit so that everybody can understand me. This is my second career in missions. My husband Randy and I first went overseas in 1976 to Oslo, Norway. We worked 9 years in Norway, started an international English-speaking church, later went to Germany, started a second church in the Munich area, and then another 4 years in Berlin, starting a third international church. During the years that we lived overseas, I saw missionaries come, I saw missionaries go. And it wasn't because they weren't gifted or talented or called. It was because there wasn't enough emotional and spiritual support to help them combat the challenges of cross-cultural living. So when we came home for aging parent issues, I'd been here for a little while and I heard the term life coach. And when someone explained to me that a coach comes alongside you and helps you get from where you are to where you want to be, my first thought immediately was, wouldn't it be great if missionaries had life coaches? Because most organizations give or require some training up front. If you fall into a ditch with a major life crisis, you're fortunate if there's a good counselor there for you. But in between training and what I call the ditch, it's basically still sink or swim, whether you are sent out by just an individual church or you're with a large organization. Mission agencies do the very best that they possibly can, and my hat's off. I love being in an environment like this and hearing what everybody is doing and how they're trying to fill this gap. But I felt at that time that an organization that could provide professional life coaching that was separate from the sending church or the sending agency, but was actually partnering with either, that we could be an extension of your arm of trying to do what you maybe can't do in-house with the same effectiveness. Because missionaries often clam up and shut up if what they say might affect their finances or their future with an organization. So Advanced Global Coaching, I'm the founder and director. We started in 2007. We've now coached missionaries in 38 different countries with that many different organizations. I have 5 coaches on staff, and I'm just so excited to be able to do the kind of work that God's allowed us to do. With the internet, we can now meet regularly with missionaries even in remote places. One client that I was coaching in Mongolia, we had 3 sessions before I realized that her toilet was a bucket with sawdust in it because I'm talking to her on high-speed internet, you know. But even in remote places, missionaries often have connections through the internet. And so now we have an affordable way to meet with them on a regular basis, to ask good questions, to listen well, to be that supportive person. And that's what we do at Advanced Global Coaching. Go ahead and go to the next slide. You are all familiar with the challenges. You know, if they're new missionaries, they may be dealing with partnership development, getting over themselves to be able to invite people to be on their funding team, or they may be dealing with cultural adjustment. Once they get out there, team dynamics, oh my goodness, you know the ropes. The gal telling me, I thought it was going to be hard, but not this hard. She's the only introvert on a team of extroverts. And she said, I don't need another game night. I just need for them to understand that stresses me out. So to get to be her coach and to ask good questions, to help her have a voice, to speak to her teammates, and to encourage her and say, you are valuable to this team. You are actually sitting in their blind spot. They need you desperately. So team dynamics are often a challenge. Just spiritual growth. We're all flawed human beings. Missionaries aren't super special. We're just flawed humans that go, and we're not finished. And so I love the way that Andy Stanley's church in Atlanta, North Point, has started working with new missionaries. When they approve a new missionary that they're going to be the sending church, they meet with them. And they say, we're going to invest in you. We're going to invest in you in 2 ways. We're going to give you X number of dollars per month as financial support. But in addition to that, we're going to provide a life coach for you for the next 18 months with Advanced Global Coaching, and we'll connect you with Advanced Global Coaching, and they'll help you figure out which coach that will serve you. And when you finish your 18 months worth of coaching, then you get a pay increase by the amount your coaching has been costing us. But what we're finding is the missionaries don't want the money. They're saying, is there any way I can have an extension on my coach? I don't want to be out here without that safe place to process what's been going on. So if missionaries have been out there for a while, sometimes our challenges are just, how are you and the Lord doing? Is your pace sustainable? Are you taking any breaks? What is God teaching you in this process of the squeezing of cross-cultural life? It may be ministry strategy, what's working, what's not. Who's going to celebrate the wins with you when the lost are always dying? Your coach will. And so we celebrate the wins and help them create strategies, and always family issues are a dynamic. But to have the established relationship before the challenges hit is ideal. And so I love it that North Point has started doing this for the brand new ones they're sending out. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. This is an old statistic, but it still rocks my heart, that 70% of the missionaries who leave the field per year leave for preventable reasons. Those preventable reasons can be coaching conversations in a trusted relationship with the coach that hopefully, well, I laugh and say that coaching in missions is like preventive dentistry. We'd rather floss out those irritations or brush them away instead of having to have a root canal. And I've been to a counselor at a time of crisis, so thankful for that person. But that was very painful, kind of like a root canal with no anesthesia. But we can work on those preventable attrition reasons, one coaching conversation at a time. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The thing that I like best about coaching is how adaptable it is. We're not trying to sell a one-size-fits-all coaching. We partner with sending churches and sending agencies to help create the coaching that meets the need that they have. But coaching is not training. It's not the 5 things Sherri thinks you need to know to be a good missionary. It is instead adapted to the needs and the goals of the individual. It is the missionary client themselves who create the topics for each coaching conversation. Now, we've all been to lovely webinars and seminars where we took great notes. It was good information. We came home, folded up that folder, and stuck it on the shelf and never opened it again because it wasn't right where we were, it wasn't right where we were living, it wasn't applicable to us at that moment. Coaching is relevant to the moment because it's what the client wants to talk about. So in one session, it might be, we really need to talk about our 13-year-old. She's not adjusting to being here. The next time, it might be talking about, we are really frustrated because this Spanish pastor is not answering our emails. And when we see him, he acts like everything's fine, but he's not communicating with us as to what he wants us to do in the church. So there are all these things that may sound small in and of themselves, but you guys are in member care, and you know what happens when small things aren't dealt with, then they turn into bigger things. So because the client brings the topics and we're working on the goals that they are setting for themselves, each one is a learning opportunity. So coaching can be used for ongoing staff development for the people who work with your agency or are sent by your church. You think, how can we help them continue to grow on the field? Having a personal coach facilitates that. We are the safe, objective place, and we provide support and each one of our coaches understands. All the coaches with AGC have to be professionally trained as life coaches, certified as life coaches, and have to have had significant cross-cultural experience. Because if you haven't been there, you sometimes don't know what questions to ask. And so I love it that even though I don't talk about my experience creates this safe basket that I have room to hold what other people are sharing with me. I love the fact that we help them to define their own next steps. We don't give advice, we don't tell people what to do, but in the process of the coaching process, then they determine what their next steps will be. And there's this built-in accountability that comes that as we explore and they try something new, then I'm going to be asking, or our coaches will be asking, how did that go for you? What obstacles got in the way? Is that still on your plate? How would you like to take this going forward for the next couple of weeks? And so that we all accomplish more when somebody's going to say, how did it go? Or did you get that done? And so I love it that it's a soft kind of accountability. I am not your boss, I'm not your supervisor, but ultimately your major accountability is, are you doing what God wants you to do? And I get to ask those kind of questions, and it's awesome to see how people respond to that kind of supportive accountability, that I really do know their life and I really do listen, and I pray with every client. Each one of our coaches does. And sometimes missionaries just burst into tears at the beginning of a session because they were prayed for out loud. Because people tell them all the time, I'm praying for you, but they never hear anybody. And how beautiful a gift it is to be able to come in as a coach and lift that person up to the Lord in their hearing. It's a huge value, just that. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Some of our other coaches, we got Kelly McClellan. He's our tough transitions coach. Kelly was a corporate headhunter before he became a Christian, went into missions, worked at a seminary in Indonesia. He helps people hear the voice of God in the midst of chaos. Love to send people to Kelly when they know there's a transition coming and they can't unpack who to tell first or how this is going to look. He's great that way. Melissa Chaplin has written the book Returning Well. She's one of our coaches. She is a relationship specialist coach. She's also a great fundraising coach. And the reentry process that she has created through the Returning Well book is something, if you haven't got one of those, you definitely want to look at it. How many of you saw the movie Castaway? Did anybody cry afterwards like I did? My husband and I sat, we cried all during it too. We sat there unable to get up and walk out of the theater. We had just come home from 20-something years overseas. And we realized that that picture depicted that when you come home, the hole you left's not there anymore. And you have to recreate a new identity, and how hard that was, that people look at you and call you by name, but they don't know you. They recognize your face, but they don't see your soul. And so that is a small piece of the Returning Well book, and it can be used. You don't have to have a professional coach to use Melissa's resource. She gives instructions where you who work in churches can be the journey companion for the missionaries that come home. They can select you, and the book will show you how to ask the right kinds of questions, what not to say, so that you can be a journey companion with someone who's returning and help them mine the gold out of their cross-cultural experience and be able to use that and express that. Our married couple at the bottom are also professional coaches. They live and work in Mexico, and they can coach in Spanish if we need them to. Cheryl loves millennials. She loves to coach single women on the field. Neil engages couples. So go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll try to finish up here. How does it work? Well, there's a free initial session. Everybody can try it on for size. You can determine yourself if it's something good for you. We usually meet 2 times a month via telephone or Skype. We usually ask for a 6-session, 3-month minimum, so people get a chance to know their coach and actually work on something that's important to them. But they get to determine the agenda and customize their package for how long they want to be coached. So at this time we coach newbies, folks out there that are given a new role. Maybe they've been out there a while and they're just tired, or maybe they had twins in Uganda, or their teammates left and said, now you're in charge of the Bible school. Things like that happen. So we coach people who've been out there for a while. We coach returning and retiring missionaries. We have a package for missionary kids that are coming back to the U.S. to go to college if they're 18 years of age or older. Talk to Michelle a bit about this, how important at that transitional stage to have someone who understands transition and the MKs to be able to come alongside them. That's not mom or dad. And so we have that package. We also coach missions pastors to help them create strategies that uniquely fit their church and what God wants them to do in missions. We coach mission board executives. So we are the professional coaching for the missions community. My vision is huge. If the Lord gives me in my lifetime this second career in missions what I'd like, I hope to eventually have 60, 100 coaches. And I want to be coaching not just North Americans, but I want us to have coaches that speak Korean and can coach Korean missionaries. Ones that can speak Chinese and coach Chinese missionaries. And so the Lord is at work all over the world, and he's sending out more than just North Americans. And I'd love for other new mission-sending countries to learn from some of the gaps that we've had to provide the support services that keep missionaries more effective, that they're supported in a way that helps them think through their challenges, that leaves them with responsibility for their lives, but enables them and empowers them to last longer and to be more effective. So, let me see. That's us. You can talk to me while I'm here. You can email me at sherri@advancedglobalcoaching.com. We just help missionaries achieve the best they can in their personal lives, because that is so important, as well as their ministries. And so I would be honored to talk to any of you about the possibilities of partnering with your church or with your agency, of how we can be an extension of your heartbeat to your missionaries. So thank you very much.